Whether you're with us here on Facebook Live or you're on our CFC YouTube channel, we just want to welcome you this morning. As I mentioned, hopefully you got the email or text message last week. But as I mentioned last week, this Sunday, Sunday, June 12th, as well as next Sunday, June 19th, we're just going to be meeting online only. It'll be live at 10 a.m., but you can always go back and watch it at another time if 10 a.m. doesn't work for you. But we want to welcome you, and we're so glad that you're with us. And not only are we meeting online only because the hotel, the Courtyard by Marriott, where we normally meet in person, not only are all the rooms full, they have other events that were planned ahead of us. And so all the rooms, all their conference rooms that we've met in, they're full. But also today, this Sunday is really special for our family. My younger brother is getting married. And so actually in just a few hours, I'll be leaving this hotel office room where I'm recording this morning. We'll be leaving this hotel office room, putting my suit on or a sport coat and some jeans on, and heading to the venue where I get the extreme honor and privilege of performing my younger brother Greg his wedding ceremony. And so excited for him and April, and what a blessing her and her family. What a great addition to our family they're going to be. And so super excited for them, super excited to celebrate with them. And so even if the room wasn't booked, we weren't going to be able to be with you since we've been up here since Friday. So we're excited. And but we want to welcome you. And this morning I want to talk to you. Well, before I tell you, let me read this to you. 2 Kings chapter 6. 2 Kings chapter 6, and we're going to start with verse 8. And it says, "Now the king of Aram was at war with Israel, and after conferring with his officers, he said, 'I will set up my camp in such a place.' And the man of God sent word to the king of Israel, 'Beware of passing that place, because the Arameans are going down there.' So the king of Israel checked on the place indicated by the man of God, and time and again, Elisha warned the king so that he was on his guard in such places. This enraged the king of Aram. He summoned his officers and demanded of them, 'Will you not tell me which of us is on the side of the king of Israel?' 'None of us, my lord the king,' said one of his officers, 'but Elisha the prophet, who is in Israel, tells the king of Israel the very words you speak in your bedroom.' 'Go, find where he is,' the king ordered, 'so I can send men and capture him.' The report came back, 'He is in Dothan.' Then he sent horses and chariots and a strong force there. They went by night and surrounded the city. And when the servant of the man of God got up and went out early the next morning, an army with horses and chariots had surrounded the city. When the servant of the man of God got up and went out early the next morning, an army with horses and chariots had surrounded the city. 'Oh, my lord, what shall we do?' the servant asked. 'Don't be afraid,' the prophet answered. 'Those who are with us are more than those who are with them.' And obviously Elijah's servant, I'm sure he thought Elijah was crazy. And so I love this verse. In verse 17, it says, "And Elisha prayed, 'O Lord, open his eyes so he may see. Open his eyes so he may see.' Then the Lord opened the servant's eyes, and he looked and saw the hills full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha." And so, you know what you see is how you respond. What you see gives perspective to how you live your life. And so this morning, what I want to talk to you about, I just want to share with you about the power of vision and how to bring your vision and your dream to pass. And so I want to share 5 D's with you, if you will. And I think this will encourage you and it'll help you. The Bible has a lot to say about the power of vision and how it works and how it operates in our life. In Proverbs 29:18, it says, where there is no vision, the people perish. Another translation says they run wild, or people become demoralized, or they cast off restraint. So vision is so powerful. In Acts 26:19, Paul says, I was not disobedient unto the heavenly vision. So Paul had a heavenly vision to go into all the world and preach the gospel. And then in Habakkuk 2, verse 2 and 3, it says, write the vision and make it plain on tablets, that he may run who reads it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time. Though it tarries, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. So the first D of these 5 D's I want to share with you that I think will help you discover the power of vision and bring your vision to pass. The first one is deposit. You got to be intentional about making the right deposits in your life. You decide what goes into your heart and how you'll see life. In 3 John 2, it says it this way. John the Apostle said, beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in health, just as your soul prospers, or in direct proportion to your soul prospered. So, in other words, whatever's in you, that's what's going to come out of you. And so we have to make sure that we're making the right deposits. And you know what? The world gets this. The marketing world gets this. What do they call it? They call it commercials. They call it marketing, right? You ever just been watching your favorite TV show and you know what? You're not thinking about food. In fact, maybe you just ate a little while ago. You're not hungry. You're not thirsty. And yet you'll see a Wendy's commercial. You'll see a McDonald's commercial. You'll see a Burger King commercial. You'll see that burger, a Big Mac, or some new bacon burger that they're coming out with, a Baconator. And all of a sudden, what? You start salivating, right? You know what? I am a little hungry. Honey, when's the last time we ate? We just ate a little while ago. But you know what? That commercial gave you a vision of what can and what they hope will be. And that is you wrapping your lips around a hamburger, right? For $10. Yeah, so the marketing world gets this. And so you got to make those deposits. And really, that's all commercials are. That's all marketing is. It's making a deposit to plant a desire for you to go from sitting still on your couch to taking action to what they want you to do. Jesus said it this way in Matthew chapter 6, verse 22 and 23. He said, the eye, or your vision, is the lamp of the body. Or your eye, or vision, it's the guiding force. It's what gives direction or tells your body where to go. If your eyes are healthy, or if your vision is healthy, your whole body, your life will be full of light. But if your eyes are unhealthy, if your vision isn't clear, if your vision is skewed, if your vision is warped, then your whole body will be full of darkness. It's funny. I have contacts on, but also if the print is kind of small, contacts they work great. They help me see far away clear, but my farsighted is great. Nearsighted, it's not so great. It's still a little fuzzy, and they're just not able to find that balance where I have great farsight and nearsightedness without the readers. And so they tuned in, they fine-tuned that farsightedness. I could see great. It works great in sports. It works great and when I drive, most things. But if I want to read and it's up close, if I squint a little bit, I can make it happen. But if I really want it to be clear, man, if I want my vision to be clear, I have to put on my readers. I have to, fine tune that vision. So that's what Jesus is talking about. The eye, your vision, it's the lamp. It gives direction. It gives guidance to your body. And then sometimes what's funny is I'll forget when I'm reading, I'm putting my readers on. If I was reading a message on my phone or taking care of something, well, then if I'm not careful, I'll forget I have my readers on. And when I get out of the car or I stand up and start to walk, and forget I have my readers on, it's fuzzy, it's blurry. I got to remember, take those off. You don't need those now for where you're going to go. So that's what Jesus is talking about here. The eye, your vision, it's the lamp of the body. It's the guiding force of your life. So if your eyes are healthy, if your vision's clear, then your whole body will be full of light. Your life will go the direction you want it to go. But if your vision is unhealthy, then your life will be full of darkness. So that's the first D. You got to make that deposit. Letter B, and this leads right into it. So think about those commercials. They're making that deposit. Why are they making those deposits? And you know what? They may not get anything. You know what? They may come out with that new burger. They may come out with that new toy. They may come out with that new whatever it is they're marketing, and they play that commercial and you know what, you're like, man, I just saw this commercial 5 minutes ago, and then the news is back on or your show is back on, and then the next commercial break, there's that commercial again. What do? They're making those deposits. Why? Second D, so they can create a desire. Whatever you deposit creates a desire. So desire, we must see or picture God's will and desire before we can bring them forth. So desire means to crave. It means to long for. It means to want passionately. Someone said the proof of passion is in pursuit. So you may say you want something really bad, but if you're not really passionately pursuing it, if you're not really intentional about making it happen, then you really got to be honest with yourself and say, okay, maybe I don't want it as bad as I thought I did, or maybe I don't want it as bad as I should. So what do you do then? Man, you don't beat yourself up. You don't get down on yourself. Man, you pray. You do what Elisha said. Lord, open his eyes that he may see. Let him see it. Because listen, once you see it and it gets lodged in your heart, then desire can begin to conceive and grow. Jesus said it this way in John chapter 4, verse 35. He said, do you not say, there are still 4 months and then comes the harvest? Behold, I say to you, lift up your eyes and look at the fields, for they are already white for harvest. So if all you see is failure or sin or poverty or lack or problems or disease, or then you're just going to get more of the same. So it's only when you renew your vision to see God's best that you'll bring forth God's best. Amen. So first D, got to make those deposits. Number 2, you make those deposits, then that begins to change your desire. Number 3, the third D, then once that happens, then you still got to decide, right? So once the commercial's on, once the TV commercial is on and the deposit has been made, right? And now, man, I wasn't hungry a while ago, but I am really desiring to take a big bite out of that burger, right? Well, third D, I still got to decide. I got to make a decision. Man, am I going to do it? Am I going to get my butt out of this chair, grab the keys, get in my car? Or am I going to get on my phone and have it delivered? I still got to make a decision. I got to decide. So you decide. You make a decision. And listen, remember, and I'm not going to go, for time's sake, I'm and it's going to be short this morning than normal maybe. But you remember the story of the 12 spies. Moses had, God told Moses to choose the leader of each of the 12 tribes of Israel and to send them to spy out the promised land, to determine what their strategy should be to conquer it and overcome it and to possess what God wanted to give them. And if you remember the story, 10 out of the 12 spies came back with a negative report. They said, man, it is a land flowing with milk and honey. It really is as good as God said it was. And man, here's some of the fruit. It's amazing. It took 2 people to carry some of the fruit back because it was just so abundant and massive and large and blessed. And, so even the 10 negative guys said, man, it really is a good land. It's blessed. But we're not able to take it. Man, it's a land that devours its inhabitants. And man, there are giants in the land. And you know what? We were grasshoppers in their sight. And so we were, we were grasshoppers in our sight. And so we were in their sight. And so letter D, you got to decide. The third D, you decide how you view the promised land, and your view decides whether you'll enter or not. So 10 men had a vision of defeat, so they were defeated. Joshua and Caleb saw victory. Joshua and Caleb, they saw the giants too, but later, I think it's in the book of Numbers, it says they saw the giants like big loaves of bread. So they saw them as a prize, right? The 10 other spies saw them as their demise, but Joshua and Caleb saw them as their prize. And so you have to decide how you're going to view the promised land, that abundant life that Jesus came to give us all. Fourth D, what you see is what you get. So the fourth D is dream. Dream big. Hang on to your dream. Hang on to your dream, because what you see is what you get. And I love this in Joshua chapter 6, verse 2. It says, and the Lord said to Joshua, see, I have given. Now this is after Moses. Remember, they didn't, the 10 other spies, the negative stuff spreads faster, further than the positive stuff. So the 10 negative spies, man, they pretty much led the rest of the nation of Israel, that generation, into forfeiting what God wanted for their life. And even Moses was frustrated and all that. Remember, he ended up striking the rock to make water come out of it instead of speaking to it like the Lord told him. And so even Moses himself didn't get to go into the promised land. Only Joshua and Caleb were able to possess what God had for them. And so the generation that wandered around in the wilderness for 40 years, and listen, God's such a good God. He's faithful. He provided for them. They didn't go hungry. Their clothes didn't wear out. God was good. He was faithful in their life. But at the end of the day, that generation died, not living in the fullness of the blessing that God had planned for them. The reason he got them out of Egypt was to take them into the promised land. And because of their unbelief, God wasn't able to get them where he wanted them to be. He didn't abandon them. As they wandered in the wilderness for 40 years, he fed them, he blessed them, he took care of them, he provided. But it wasn't God's best for their life. So that generation dies. The next generation, under the leadership of Joshua, and then Caleb is there as well, they're getting ready to go into the promised land. And just like Moses came right smack into the Red Sea with the enemy in hot pursuit behind them, you know what? They came up against the Jordan River that was flooded. And so they had a choice to make. Are you going to trust the Lord? Are you going to believe God? And so they make it across the Jordan River. And then sure enough, after they make it across the Jordan River, well, then they come into the first inhabited city, Jericho. I think it was first, may have been after, maybe the city of Ai may have been the first one. But anyway, they come across, they hit Jericho. And I love it. Jericho, Joshua 6:1 says that Jericho was sealed tight, and no one was going in and no one was going out. And then God tells Joshua in verse 2, and the Lord said to Joshua, see, get a vision. I've given Jericho into your hand as king and the mighty man of valor. Well, you go back to verse 1, and it says, and Jericho was sealed up tight, and no one was going in and no one was going out. Notice there's two different visions. There's two different pictures, right? Jericho's shut up tight. No one's going in. No one's going out. And then God tells Joshua, hey, I'm aware of the reality of this situation in verse 1, but I want you to see something different. Just like Elisha saw something different than his servant saw in the story we read at the very beginning of this message. And God prayed, Elisha prayed for his servant, Lord, open his eyes that he may see. And God did that. God opened his servant's eyes and he saw the chariots of fire. He saw what Elisha saw, right? Well, that's what God's doing here with Joshua. The Lord said to Joshua, see, I know the reality of the situation. It's sealed up tight. There's no one going in, no one going out. It looks impenetrable. It looks impossible. But I want you to see something different, Joshua. See, I have given Jericho into your hand, its king, and the mighty men of valor. Amen. So, and then the last one. So, number one, you got to make those deposits. You do that, it creates a desire. You get the desire, you still got to decide, make a decision. After that, you make a decision. Listen, that decision is something you make every day, right? You make a decision to go to the gym. You know what? There's some days I feel like going to the gym. There's other days I don't feel like going to the gym. So you got to hang on to that dream for a healthy lifestyle. You got to hang on to that dream for what you want. So that's a daily thing. So the fourth D, you got to dream big and you got to hang on to your dream. What you see is what you get. And then lastly, we're going to close with the fifth D, and that's do. You got to do something lest you do nothing. You got to take whatever action you can to bring your vision to pass. So I want to share this funny story with you as we close. I love this. It says there once was a man who very adamantly believed in living by faith. He believed that God would provide his need and he would receive whatever he asked for. One day he stood up in church and said that from that day forward, he was trusting God to supply all his needs. He quit his job and moved into a dingy little house on the rougher side of town. The first night he prayed very fervently for God to send him some food because he was beginning to get hungry. The next morning he walked outside expecting to find food, but nothing was there. Figuring that he didn't pray fervently enough, he dedicated the whole next day to praying for God to provide for food for the next day. The next morning came and still no food. That day he prayed even more fervently for God to provide nourishment. For by now he was growing really hungry. God, you must provide food for me or I will die out here, he prayed over and over again. The next morning he walked outside, still no food. By this time, he was beginning to get angry with God. So now he's not only hungry, he's angry. He's angry. He's angry with God for not providing what he thought God should provide from the promises in his word. So that afternoon and evening, he doubled down his efforts as he prayed. Dear God, I'm going to starve to death unless you feed me. I haven't eaten or had anything to drink in 4 days. When he went to bed, he heard a faint voice calling out his name. Bill, Bill, I'm here, Lord, he cried. Are you finally answering my prayer? I've been answering your prayers, the voice replied. You've just been looking in the wrong direction. What do you mean, Lord? Walk outside, said the voice. Bill walked outside, looked all around on the dirty porch, but he still found no food. There's nothing here, Lord. I don't see any food. You're looking in the wrong direction, Look up. So as Bill looked up, there was a huge billboard that said, day laborers wanted, lunch will be provided. So the last D is do. You gotta do something lest you do nothing. James 2:17 says, faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. The Amplified puts it this way: so also faith, if it does not have works, deeds, and actions of obedience to back it up, by itself is destitute of power, inoperative, and dead. So I hope this encourages you and about the power of vision. Where there is no vision, people perish. And so these 5 do's, you got to make the right deposits, and those deposits create a desire. After you have the desire, you still got to make a decision. When you make decisions, even making the right decisions, you're going to have challenges, you're going to have difficulties. So you got to dream big. You got to hang on to that dream. And then you got to remember, sometimes when you don't know what to do, you just got to do something, lest you do nothing. Look up, right? Look up, right? Do what God told Joshua. See something different. I've given Jericho into your hands. And so God has given so much to us too. So I want you to see his faithfulness. I want you to see his blessing. I want you to see his protection. I want you to see his goodness. Listen, we love you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining us this morning. We pray that you have just a blessed rest of your day this Sunday. And again, thank you for being so gracious and allowing our family to have this time to spend it with my brother as he gets married. So wedding bells are about to ring, and so we're going to head to the chapel. But we love you. Have an awesome week. We'll see you here online again next week as well, and then we'll be back in person the following week, which is, I believe, Sunday the 26th. We love you. God bless. Bye-bye.